Well, for reasons that have been talked about a great deal elsewhere, you've ended up having a weekend where you've not had a game. What have you used that time for, and how beneficial has it been for you and the players?
We've trained, basically. And the lads have trained hard, and we've got to get back to playing the way we know we can play, which we're capable of. And it gives a couple of the lads who are trying to get back to fitness a couple more days.
I know we spoke after Forest Green and you were not too hopeful about the prospect of getting a couple of those injured players back. How much does it help to have had another weekend?
Well, it helps in that respect, but you always want to play, don't you? You want to try and get results out of your system. You want to try and right the wrongs, the perceived wrongs. But you'd have to just go with what you dealt with, really. And there was no game for anybody on Saturday, so everyone has to just prepare for the Tuesday game as best they can.
Talk about preparations. Take me through the logistics of a trip to Wycombe, given that I think you've decided that staying over is not the future.
I just don't like staying over on a Monday night and then waiting around all day to play. So we'll get the train down tomorrow. And hopefully the lads will be fit and ready to go when we get there.
How does that affect the training situation? Does that mean you can train kind of more normally here in Accrington and then just travel?
Well, you don't normally train on a match day anyway. We don't anyway. So we won't be training.
And the difference with staying the night before, try and pinpoint it for me.
Well, it's just that, if we'd have gone today, so we'd have trained today, it's a long trip then on the coach. Yeah, at the mercy of traffic, it could take anything between 2 and 7 hours. And then lads, when they're away, tend to overeat, I think. And it's one of Jimmy's bugbears, because they're bored, basically, sitting around doing nothing really. And then they've got a whole day to kill tomorrow before the game, and you use a lot of nervous energy in that. So hopefully we'll just go with our minds focused on the game tomorrow, and go and try and get a result.
Does it take you back to your part-time days?
No, because flipping out, we could never afford to go by train. That's for sure. Any team I played for. No, it's just something that I think will be beneficial for us.
How far away do you think you are from the potential that you've got? Very good, yeah, Google Maps. From the potential that there is there, how far away are the performances, or have they been, from what they could be?
We're not far away. We've just got to get a consistency. And I think we've got to get a consistency in concentration. Both boxes, to be fair. But we've got to start knuckling down and being responsible for each other on the pitch, without it turning into a monoton. Where people think sometimes that to be loud and assertive, all you got to do is tell people off. And sometimes it might need a bit of encouragement in. People know the jobs, but they've got to be responsible for each other on the pitch as well. And it's got to be a collective, and you're playing as a collective, and you get the results as a team. You don't win games on your own, and that's what we've got to focus on. And we've always been like that at Accrington, to be honest, and it served us well in the past.
Does it follow that the people who set the tone are the experienced players, or can it sometimes be a young player?
It can be any. I mean, you'd like to think that the experienced players have been there before and they know what we want, and they sort of, like Sean and Seamus and Sean Worley should really mirror what we're about, because they know us inside out. They've been with us. I know Sean's only back, Sean Worley, but Seamus and Sean at Wycombe have been with us for a long time, and they know exactly what we're about, what makes us tick. And so we are looking for them to set the standards, but they've got to set the standard with the play as well. It's all right saying you do this, you do that, and if you're not doing your own job, that quickly falls down, and you lose a bit of credibility with that. Thankfully, them two lads have served us really, really well, both as players and personalities. First and foremost, they've been excellent players for us, and that's what we need from them now.
You and I have done this for a long time, and there have been bad patches, there's been runs of bad form, there's been terrible results at times. How do you keep a level head? How do you kind of say it is going to be okay and look to the future and not get caught in the negatives?
Well, it's a case of not getting too high and not getting too low. So, it's pointless operating in a negative frame of mind. If you go in believing you're going to get beat, there's a good chance you're going to get beat. And you've got to be positive in your actions, in your words, in your vocabulary, what and your thoughts, and you've got to try and get players to come out of the shell a little bit. And I think at times when you're going through a bad patch, you can easily clam up and do safe things and not express yourself, and make mistakes that you wouldn't normally make because you're feeling pressured. And part of my job is to try and alleviate that pressure.
Do you ever refer to those previous instances? Do you ever go back and say, the year we won the League 2 title, for example, we had a really dodgy patch up to Boxing Day, and then we got a great result on Boxing Day, and the rest is history? Well,
yeah, there's times when you do use them, and it's good to have reference points, but you've had reference points all over our career. We've been through bad patches. I mean, I'd hardly say this is a bad patch, losing 2 games. One of them against the league leaders, Ipswich. So, what? It was a disappointing result against Forest Green. There's no getting away from that, and we were disappointed with it. We can only thank the fans who travelled because it's an arduous trip on a Tuesday night. And the ones who did make it, we're very, very appreciative of that. And it would have been nice to give them something to cheer about. But we've had some positive results, we've had some positive performances this season. If you look at our players, you can't knock their effort, which I think is always a plus for the travelling fans and the home fans. But we've got to turn that effort into a tangible reward, which is points.
Just on the fans thing, after Forest Green, obviously 34 away fans, there's a bit of Mickey taking on social media, and there's a bit of that being highlighted. You don't have the biggest crowds, you certainly don't have the biggest away crowds. I imagine you'll know quite a lot of those and quite a lot of the fans that'll be going to Wycombe on a Tuesday night. In a funny way, does that make it more important to you guys and the coaching staff and the players?
I think it's always been important to us. Well, certainly to me, and I know Jimmy as well, feels that way. That, that we can empathise because we've been a fan. We've travelled up and down the country to West Liverpool. So we know what it feels like to go. I mean, probably the reason I'm here now is Liverpool's performance in the semi-final against Arsenal at Highfield Road, the 4-3 play. So I know how you can feel, but then they can light you up as well, and they can make you feel alive, as I felt last week when Liverpool scored last minute against Newcastle. So I know exactly how you feel as a fan, and there are ups and downs, and there's been lots of ups and downs at Accrington. But I think as a fan, all you want your players to give it all. And when it's perceived that they're not giving it all, you get a little bit downhearted. Obviously, you want results as well. But I don't think anybody could level that at us this season that we haven't given everything we can on the pitch.
And Wycombe, obviously thwarted in the playoffs at the end of last season. Another example, I guess, of not reaching those standards results-wise in a new season. Is that any surprise that there is maybe a bit of a hangover when you've had a disappointment like that?
Well, I know what it feels to lose in the playoffs, so it's not a good feeling. They've got a good set of lads there. Great management and Gareth, longevity personified. And they know that they'll come through that. I said they've got good players, and it's always a tough place to go. We've generally done okay there though, so hopefully it'll be one of our another okay days.
Is that something that you can...
All night.
Yeah. Is that something that you can identify with, that the unit is kind of bigger than the sum of its parts, and the character and the atmosphere in there is so important?
Yeah, and again, but I don't think they'll be getting the credit that they deserve. Just as I keep banging this drum, our coaches don't get the credit they deserve. People think it's all about gung-ho spirit at Accrington and camaraderie, and it's not. Jimmy's in there now going through minute details with the goalkeepers. And so, our preparation is thorough, and our coaches then deliver it on the training ground as well. You know, Jimmy and John are two excellent English coaches. Probably the wrong end of the age scale to be vogue at the moment. That doesn't mean they're not good at the job. They're actually very good at the job, excellent at the job. And players who have played for us and come through us will appreciate that. But we can't alter people's perception of us. We just got to keep on doing our job, and we don't have to live up to the stereotypes that get labelled at us. And Wycombe will be the same.
And personnel-wise, is there any likelihood of any change to the sort of numbers and personnel you had available for the last game?
I've been known to make, possibly, perhaps, maybe. Been known to say that in the past. No, we've explored a few options, and we'll figure out as a staff and the way we analyse the opposition and our own performances what we think will be the best team to put out on Saturday. And you know, people get heads up with formations. At the end of the day, it's 11v11, and you'd be hard pushed to describe England's formation in the '66 World Cup final. So it's just about 11v11, and we'll try and put the best 11 out we can.